I've always been fascinated by that moment, when a giant, confident structure meets something it never planned for. Not a giant battle station, not a superweapon, just a single hull that takes your best shot, shrugs, and says, "No." It really makes you wonder what would scare an emperor more, losing a ship or losing the story that he controls. What's real? So as you settle in and let your day drift to the edge of your thoughts, imagine this with me, a station called Aegis Crown, where night is just a dimmer switch, a lieutenant named Joryn Pell who believes the registry is the galaxy's nervous system, and a quiet, unregistered signal sliding calmly into Imperial space. We'll start right there, on the blue hour of his shift. At the exact second the impossible contact appears on his screen, and everything has been taught starts to feel uncertain. The story the Empire fears most is not about a giant battle or a dead star. It is about a single ship that was not supposed to exist. For 5,000 years, the Empire told every citizen the same thing. Everything that moves is in the registry. If it is not in the registry, it is not real. Ships, stations, drones, cargo pods, even rescue beacons, each had a code, a record, a line in a vault of data that wrapped around the capital world like a metal crown. Then, late in a quiet cycle on Aegis Crown Station, a young monitoring officer saw a signal with no code, no name, no history. Just a calm, bright contact slipping into Imperial space as if nothing in the galaxy could say no to it. By the time anyone understood what it was, it had already changed everything. They would later call it a ghost ship. It called itself DUSK-SPEAR. And it was human. On Aegis Crown Station, night and day were only colors on a wall. Shift light cooled to soft blue as the local star dipped behind the capital world. The watch floor dimmed by 3%. Across the curved ceiling, status bands glowed in neat lines. Green for safe, amber for alerts, red for weapons release. They almost never turned red. Lieutenant Joryn Pell liked the blue hour. The older officers were tired. Traffic thinned. The galaxy felt smaller and easier to hold. In front of him, a half-sphere display showed the space around the capital as a pale mist full of tiny symbols. Every ship was a point with a code. Every point obeyed registry law. He sipped lukewarm tea and watched new codes slide into place. Tanker E77J, diplomatic shuttle. RL993, cargo barge mist road. Each one came with a full record the registry had already checked. Port of origin, crew list, mass profile, travel permits. Joryn's job was simple. Confirm that what the sensors saw matched what the registry said. If something drifted, if a code lagged, if a ship cut a lane early, he flagged it and a patrol checked. It felt like watching the galaxy breathe. Sector 39, clear, he said softly. His voice tagged the logs. Above him, the command lattice diagram spun. Lines of silver showed sensor relays spread across dozens of star systems. Data came in at light speed and faster than light bursts, merged, filtered, and flowed into the registry cores under the Capitol's poles. His instructor at the academy had explained it like this: the registry is the Empire's nervous system. If something moves, it feels it. If something exists, it records it. To be unregistered is to be illegal. To be unregistered is to be impossible. Joryn had believed that at once. Everyone did. He tapped through a standard scan packet, watching the numbers. Mass, vector, emissions, they all lined up. The system chimed soft approval. He clicked to the next sector. Sector 42. A faint point appeared at the very edge of range. Not bright, but steady. It moved with quiet purpose, cutting across lanes instead of following them. The registry overlay blinked. A small gray icon flashed beside the point. Searching, then no match. Joryn frowned and leaned closer. "Come on," he muttered. Who forgot to log their flight plan? He tagged the contact. The system ran a deeper query. This time, combing not just live traffic but longer-term archives. Test drones, research probes, old derelicts that sometimes lit up again when a reactor glitched. No much. The point moved closer. Still no code. Joryn checked the basics. Range 0.9 U from the nearest relay. Velocity, sublight but fast, well above normal traffic lanes. Heading inward toward the capital. Station, this is Pell at Monitor 9, he said, his voice tightening. I have an unregistered contact in Sector 42. Please confirm a registry delay. A calm, synthetic voice replied at once. Monitor 9, registry channels are nominal. No delays reported. Joryn swallowed. He glanced left and right. The other monitoring officers were focused on their own sectors, faces lit by pale displays. No one else seemed alarmed. He opened a private channel to his shift leader. Commander Rel, I have a contact with no registry data. Could be a sensor ghost, but... The commander's face appeared in a small window. Rel looked tired, his dark hair pressed flat from a rest pillow. Send me the packet, Rel said. Joryn did. He watched the timer ring spin for a second. Then two. Huh, Rel said. Mass estimate. Mass estimate. Preliminary says. That can't be right. Say it. Compared to a heavy cruiser, Joryn said. But the profile is wrong. It's more compact and has no transponder. No passive ID code at all. Probably a calibration glitch, he said. We had a relay refit last week. Flag it, start a standard cross-check, and run a background sweep. Alert nav control. Just in case. Yes, sir. The call closed. Joryn triggered 3 checks at once. Local sensor recalibration. Crossbeam confirmation from a second relay. Emission scan. Numbers rolled past on his screen. The second relay saw the same thing. So did the third. The contact's profile sharpened as more data came in. It was not a blur. It was a real object, large and solid, burning a faint, stable drive that did not match any registry template. the system threw another gray icon. UNCL felt his heart pick up speed. He pulled up the law notes. Imperial Registry Law, Core Clause. Any vessel or object of transit in Imperial space must be recorded in the registry. Objects without record are deemed hostile until proven compliant. He had studied that line for exams. It had seemed simple then, almost boring. Now it sat on his screen like a threat. His console chimed. A priority link opened without his request. An older officer, rank code CAPT 5, took over part of his display. Monitor 9, this is Captain Vale, 4th Watch Oversight, the man said. His voice was level, but his eyes were sharp. I am taking direct view of your sector. Do not redirect without orders. Joryn straightened. Yes, Captain. I flagged an unregistered contact. I thought it was a glitch, but all cross-checks. I see it, Vale said. Good work flagging it. Continue standard procedure. I will liaise with command. The captain's view shrank into a side window, but Joryn knew he was still there, watching. The contact passed another relay. Range dropped. It stayed on the same course. No wobble, no drift, no sign of a lost or damaged ship. It moved like something that knew exactly where it was going. Rel pinged him again. Pell Nav Control has tagged it for a compliance check, he said. Local patrol will make intercept at Boundary 6. Relax. Probably some smuggler with a damped transponder thinking they're clever. Yes, sir, Joryn said, but his hands were still tight on the console frame. Smugglers used small ships. This was not small. On the main strategic display above the floor, a new icon appeared. A thin blue circle marking Boundary 6 compliance zone. 4 small green diamonds detached from a patrol station and moved to meet the gray contact. Joryn watched their vectors cross. Round him, voices rose as other officers noticed the pattern. A few chuckled. Someone's getting a fine. Smugglers about to lose a cargo load. Probably a rebel skiff with fake IDs. Joryn tried to join their casual tone, but the knot in his chest stayed. The Empire's power did not rest only on its guns. He knew that. He had written essays about it. The registry made the Empire feel like the galaxy's only real story. If everything was known, then everything was under control. If the registry saw it, then the emperors will covered it. Unregistered things did not exist. Yet here on his screen, something big and very real was moving, and the registry had nothing to say. On a high level above the watch floor behind tinted screens, Admiral Kethran Maul watched as well. Joryn could not see him, but the Admiral's attention was already fixed on that gray point. Maul had risen through the ranks by never letting surprises spread. His first thought, when he saw the data, was not what is it, but who will hear about this. He opened a secure channel to Captain Vale. Treat this as internal anomaly until further notice, Maul said. No public alerts, no civilian traffic warnings. The word unregistered will not appear in any general log. Understood? Vale held his gaze for a second on the screen, a simple compliance check. A minor glitch. Behind them, in the depths of the registry cores, lines of code adjusted, log entries were tagged for special review. Access permissions shifted. On the floor, Joryn took a slow breath and tried to calm himself. He watched the patrol ships close in. The contact did not speed up. It did not slow down. It did not answer hails. For now, it was still just a blip with no name. But if someone had been close enough to see it with their own eyes, they would have seen more than that. They would have seen the dark shape of a warship, larger and denser than any cruiser the Empire had ever built, sliding in from the quiet between stars without asking for permission. The first clear image of the unknown ship appeared as a wireframe on Captain Vale's private display. He sat in a small observation room above the main watch floor, lights low, hands joined loosely on the desk. The station's AI had fused data from 7 sensor relays, radar sweeps, gravimetric readings, thermal scans, scatter from drive emissions, into a single model. The shape that formed was wrong for an Imperial design. It was too thick, too compact, like a spearhead carved out of night. No long, elegant fins for heat. Radiators. No open truss structures. Plates overlapped in layers, tight and heavy, as if the ship expected to be hit hard and did not care. Mass estimate, well above a heavy cruiser, closer to a small battle station. Vale whistled softly, then stopped himself. He was alone, but habits held. Unknown vessel. The AI said in a calm tone, size, 1.7 times Imperial heavy cruiser standard displacement. Hull configuration non-standard. Weapon ports, multiple. Registry correlation, failed. I saw the failure, Vale said. Run it again. Expand parameters. Expanding, including classified hull types. Correlation. Failed. So it was not some black project from the Imperial Navy, not a secret ship with a fake ID. It spun glowing lines showing drive cones that were deep set and shielded. The heat pattern looked odd. Cooler than it should be for its size. It moved like a war platform, not in a showy way. No fast dashes. Just a straight, confident path through space. On the watch floor, officers still laughed about smugglers. Vale did not laugh. He had spent long nights reading things he was not supposed to read. Old, sealed files, battle reports from the Empire's early years, the extinction edict that had turned into a legend. Most officers barely cared about that history. The Empire was all they had ever known. They accepted the story told in public schools. Long ago, there had been a dangerous species called human. Humans had torn their own world with war, reached into space, and fought everything. The young Empire had met them, seen them as a threat, and wiped them out to protect the future. That was that. Extinction edict. Lesson finished. But Vale had always felt a strange pull when he saw the old words. Deathworlders. Terran-born. Unbroken under pressure. He had tried to get more details. The files were sealed. His clearance was high, but not that high. A few scraps got through anyway. Fragments of reports from officers who had faced humans and come back shaken. They had talked about ships that kept fighting after losing half their mass, about crews who went into battle knowing they could not win and did it anyway, only to drag their enemies down with them. About planets so harsh that Imperial shock troops had to stay in armor at all times, while humans walked barefaced and laughed in storms that could break metal. Vale had tucked those stories away in his mind, like forbidden puzzle pieces. Now, staring at the image of the unknown ship, he felt those pieces stir. He zoomed in on a section near the ship's prow. Small protrusions lined the hull. They were not pretty. They were not shaped like anything built for show. They were just there, tight and thick, like knuckles on a fist. Weapons, a lot of them. Captain Vale, Admiral Maul stepped in, his presence filling the small room. His dark uniform was crisp, every line sharp. Report. Vale stood, then sat when Maul waved a hand. We have full confirmation, Admiral Vale said. The contact is real. Size and mass far beyond any normal smuggler or private vessel. Emissions do not fit any known Imperial design. Its course is a straight intercept toward the inner lanes. Smugglers sometimes retrofit, Maul said. Not like this, Vale replied before he could stop himself. This feels like a warship, a very confident warship. Maul's eyes narrowed a little. The patrol at Boundary 6 will perform a compliance check. The Admiral said they will board, seize, or destroy as required. Our story will not change. Our story? Vale asked. It was sensor noise. Then a smuggler. Then nothing, Maul said. There will be no unregistered dreadnought rumor. Do you understand, Captain? Vale inclined his head. Yes, Admiral. Maul's gaze slid to the model on the screen. Delete any personal copies of those scans, he added. Access to raw data will be restricted. We will control interpretation. Vale nodded again, but his mind kept running. He had not used the word in front of the Admiral. It was not wise, but it hung in his thoughts. There were old myths from the Empire's early outer colonies, stories about ghost ships from before the registry, roaming between stars, refusing to bow to any central power. The stories always ended with those ships burned by Imperial beams, their ashes added to the registry as a warning. None of those old tales had described ships this large. Vale dismissed the screen and followed Maul down to the main watch floor. 4 patrol cutters in a diamond around the gray contact, lines of predicted paths. Open patrol channel, Maul ordered. Static hissed for a moment, then a clear voice cut in. Boundary 6 patrol to unknown vessel. You are entering Imperial space without registry status. Transmit identity code and flight plan at once. Failure to comply is a violation of Imperial registry law. and will be treated as hostile intent. The message repeated in 3 trade languages and 2 coded military bands. On his console, Joryn watched for any sign of a reply. Nothing. Maybe their comms are down, Ro muttered beside him. Or they're trying to play dumb. Joryn stared at the contact signal. It did not flicker. It did not change power. If it was damaged, it hid it very well. The patrol captain tried again, this time sharper. Unknown vessel, you are ordered to cut, speed, and hold position for boarding. You will comply within 60 seconds or be fired upon under Imperial engagement protocol. On the unknown ship, far beyond the station's sight, Commander Elias Mercer listened to those words play out in his own command room. He sat in a deep, padded chair at the heart of DUSK-SPEAR's bridge. Around him, the walls were smooth and dark, broken by soft blue status arcs. His crew moved with quiet care, hands flying over consoles that showed both tactical data and something stranger, mood maps, color fields of expected Imperial reactions. Imperial tone matches forecast, Dr. Maya Caldwell said softly from the PSYOP station. Her hair was pulled back, eyes bright behind thin lenses. Legal language, absolute statements, threat within 2 messages. Very good. Very Empire, Mercer agreed. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Any sign they recognize us? None, Maya said. To them, we are just an unknown. They have no room in their story for what we are. A small smile touched her lips, but it was not cruel. It was tired and a little sad. She had spent years studying Imperial broadcasts, school programs, cultural shows. She had watched how they spoke of the Extinction Edict. Short, neat, done. Humanity was gone. There were no long debates, no detailed history lessons. Just a clean message. The Empire defeated its greatest enemy and erased it. The Empire cannot be challenged. To build DUSK-SPEAR's mission, Maya and Admiral Rebecca Shaw had taken that message apart. They had sat in a quiet room back on Earth, in an underground center in Colorado Springs, and written a different story. We do not need them to love us, Maya had said then. We need them to doubt what they have been told. Just a little. Doubt spreads faster than fear. If we show them that the Extinction Edict failed, their faith in Imperial forever starts to crack. So how do we show them? With a single ship, Maya answered. A ship that should not exist. A ship that is not in their registry. A ship that arrives, refuses to accept their rules, proves their weapons can fail, and then leaves. No conquest, no occupation, just a scar on their belief. Now in the present, DUSK-SPEAR glided through Imperial space, following that plan. Mercer glanced at his helm. Officer, range to patrol. 4 minutes to boundary intercept, Captain, the helmsman said. They're holding formation, weapons warming. Good, Mercer said. Stay on current course. No evasive action yet. He turned to Maya. Time for our first reply. She nodded and tapped a sequence. We send on all bands, she said. But we do not answer their law with our law. We answer it with non-recognition, calm, firm. No threats that will unsettle them more than rage. She pressed send. Upon Aegis Crown Station, Joryn jerked as a new signal appeared. Receiving transmission from unknown, he said loudly. All patrol and command bands. It's short. Text and audio. Put it up, Maul ordered. The voice that filled the watch floor was smooth, low, and clear. There was no static, no hint of fear. Imperial forces, it said. Your claimed authority is not recognized. Your registry has no power over this vessel or its crew. You will alter course and clear a path. Failure to do so will result in your destruction. This is not a threat. It is a statement of capacity. Joryn's stomach dropped. Several officers looked at each other sharply. Even hardened veterans flinched at the last line. Not a threat, a statement of capacity. The words felt wrong, like a hand calmly placing a knife on a table. Maul's face went hard. Cut that from general audio, he snapped. Route future transmissions to command only. He turned to communications. Send response. Maximum legal weight. The patrol captain's voice came back, tighter now. Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Imperial Registry law and have issued a direct threat against Imperial ships. You will comply or be destroyed. This is your final warning. On DUSK-SPEAR, Maya watched the waveform of the reply. Anger rising, she said calmly. Fear underneath. They are still trying to stand inside their rules. They think if they say law enough times, reality will agree. Mercer nodded. So we showed them a piece of a different reality, he said. Tactical status, shields at full overlap. Hull field at 98%, said a tactical officer. Weapons cold, but ready on your mark. This ship had been built far from Imperial eyes, in hidden yards that wrapped around cold moons. Its armor was layered and smart. Its fields bled enemy energy away like gentle tides. It was a spear, built to move more minds than hulls. Maya looked at Mercer. Remember, she said softly, minimal damage, maximum message. We do not want them to think we are conquerors. We want them to realize their emperor can be hurt. Mercer's gaze stayed on the display. I remember, he said. Out in space, the patrol cutters flared their drives and spread, moving into an attack wedge. DUSK-SPEAR did not shift. On the watch floor, Joryn saw the patrol's weapon indicators turn red. Sir, they're arming plasma lances, he reported. All 4 ships. Full power. About time, Rel muttered. Vale said nothing. He watched the unknown ship's readings. Shield bloom, hull response. Everything about it spoke of deep design, not some patched smuggler barge. A young officer at the back raised a hand hesitantly. Captain Vale, sir, the voice. Did you hear an accent? It sounded. Maul cut across her from his high station. It sounded like a pirate trying to sound important, he said sharply. Nothing more. He knew it was a lie. The voice had been too clear, too trained. It had carried the weight of tradition behind it, like an old soldier speaking a promise. In his private files, that same admiral had once seen a word stamped in red: human, species extinct by edict sit. He forced the memory down. Patrol is authorized to fire, he said coldly. They will turn that ship into junk, and this will all be forgotten. On DUSK-SPEAR, Mercer watched the countdown tick toward 0. Here comes the first move, he said quietly. Dr. Maya Caldwell closed her eyes for a second, as if in a small private prayer, not for safety, but for effect. Let them hit us, she said. Let them see it doesn't work. Outside, in the dark between stars, blue-white lances of plasma flashed toward the human ship, bright and deadly, carrying all the faith of an empire that believed nothing could stand against it. The reply would not be louder. It would be quieter. And that, Maya knew, was what would shake them most. An Aegis-crowned station. Every eye turned to the main display as the first shots left the patrol cutters. 4 white lines stretched across the black, a perfect wedge of imperial power, plasma lances, charged and focused, the same weapons that had burned pirate fleets and crushed rebel nests for centuries. Impact in 3 seconds. Joryn called. His voice shook. He tried to steady it. 2, 1. Contact. The lances struck the unknown ship in a blaze of light. Usually, when plasma hit a target, the sensors showed a sharp spike, and then a bloom, flare of heat as armor boiled off. Then debris, screens filled with jagged fragments and rising clouds of ionized gas. This time, the spike came, and then it smoothed out. Joryn stared at his numbers. Armor response rel demanded. Joryn's fingers flew. Surface temperature up, but only slightly, he said, baffled. No breach. No material loss above trace. Energy. It's just gone, bleeding into space. On the wireframe model, the unknown ship glowed for a second, then faded back to cold, like a rock in a river. On the watch floor, the noise level dropped, jokes dried up. People leaned forward. Patrol, report. Maul snapped over the channel. Static. Then the strained voice of the patrol captain. Boundary 6 patrol to Crown Command. Direct hits scored. Target shows no visible damage. Repeat target is intact. Our lances had no effect. His last word hung heavy. No effect. Vale's jaw clenched. Run that again, he said softly. All sensors. Joryn triggered replays. 3 different relays had watched the impact from different angles. All confirmed the same thing. The ship had taken 4 full power shots and barely warmed up. It's like it drank the energy, Joryn whispered before he could stop himself. Maul's gaze swept the floor. Language, Lieutenant, he said coldly. You are not here to marvel. You are here to report. Joryn flushed. Yes, Admiral. Sorry, Admiral. Vale leaned closer to his console. Note that reaction, he said quietly to his own recording. They believed their weapons could burn anything. Now they see something they cannot burn at all. He thought of drills at the academy, where cadets were told, if it is not in the registry, it is not real. He wondered how those same cadets would look now, watching a very real, unregistered ship shrug off the Empire's best tools. Out at Boundary 6, the patrol cutters moved. Discipline held them in formation, but Joryn could see small jitters in their paths. Patrol is performing secondary targeting, he reported. They are trying different frequencies, different impact angles, scatter fields. More lances sprang out. Some were modulated, some spun to try to break through fields. The unknown ship did not dodge. It did not even seem to brace. On DUSK-SPEAR's bridge, the tactical officer said, "Calm." 10 small points lit up on the hologram of the ship's hull. All hits within projected bands. Shield hull coupling stable. Field bleed at 97% efficiency. Field bleed at 97% efficiency. No threat. The room stayed quiet. No cheers. This was what they had trained for. Mercer watched a side display that showed not just sensor data, but an estimate of Imperial emotion. Lines rising and falling based on comm tone, ship, maneuvers, signal lag. Fear index climbing, Maya noted. Public channels just went silent. They pulled general audio after our first message. Now command is talking over locked lines. She sounded almost like a teacher commenting on a class. Mercer nodded. They will tell themselves this is a fluke, he said. They will say their aim was off or their power low. They have to protect the story in their heads. Not for long, Maya replied. The story is already cracking. Another volley hit DUSK-SPEAR and vanished into its fields. The ship glided on. Back on Aegis Crown, someone swore under their breath. Joryn pretended not to hear. Maul's voice sliced through the quiet. Order the patrol to close range. Grapplers and boarding hooks, if their lances fail. They will cut it open from the outside. Vale looked up sharply. Admiral, with respect. Closing that close to an unknown warship is necessary, Maul snapped. We cannot let one strange hull frighten the capital's defenders. We show strength. We take it or break it. If our officers are afraid, they will hide behind range and excuses. The words hit Vale harder than Maul knew. Fear had already taken root in the room. But Vale also knew how much Maul feared something else. Loss of control over the story. Very well, Admiral Vale said. Order sent. On the display, the patrol cutters obeyed. Their wedge tightened. They drove in closer, past the normal safe distance where anti-ship mines and point defense made approach deadly. Range dropping, Joryn called. They are moving into grappler range. Unknown still has not fired, Rhys said, puzzled. On DUSK-SPEAR, Mercer watched the green diamonds close in. Boarding attempt likely, Tactical said. They are brave or desperate, Maya added. Their script says, if something resists our law, we punish it. They are acting out that script. Mercer rested his hands on the arms of his chair. "All right," he said softly. "We have shown them that their strongest punch does nothing. Time to show them we can hurt them, but that we choose not to kill them all." He nodded to tactical. "Mark targets. Engines, weapons, comms, no reactor shots, no bridge shots. We do not slaughter them. We write a lesson on their hulls." "Yes, Captain." Maya checked her own displays. She said, "The fear in their voices will spread faster if others hear it. After that, command will clamp down, but by then, the pattern will be set." Mercer allowed himself a small, grim smile. "I trust your theater," he said. She smiled back, but her eyes stayed serious. "This is not theater," she said quietly. "This is their first real taste of choice. For 5,000 years, they have believed only the Empire chooses who lives and dies." "DUSK-SPEAR," came the patrol captain's strained voice over open channels. "You have violated Imperial space and attacked Imperial authority. Stand down, cut power, and prepare to be boarded. This is your last chance." Maya's console translated the tone into a steep spike on her chart. "They use last chance a lot," she said. Mercer's voice went out, steady and clear. "Imperial Patrol," he said. "You have fired multiple times without legal cause recognized by this vessel. You have confirmed your weapons cannot harm us. Further approach will result in the removal of your combat ability. You will not be killed. You will be left alive to carry this fact back to your empire." On the watch floor, a chill went through the room. "Left alive," he said. "Who talks like that?" Vale did not answer. He had heard that kind of talk in the old band reports. Humans telling enemies, "You live because we say so, not because you can protect yourself." Maul's knuckles whitened on the rail. "Cut their broadcast," he growled. "If any officer repeats those words, I will see them spaced." But even as he spoke, the words were already burning into minds all over the station. "You will not be killed. You will be left alive." The patrol captain snapped. "Enough," he shouted. "All ships full barrage. Fire at will." Blue-white lances leaped again, this time as they hit DUSK-SPEAR's fields. The human ship answered. No bright build-up, no long charging cycle. Beams of tight, invisible force stabbed out from beneath its dark plates with the speed of thought. In the watch hall, effects appeared as sudden spikes on the patrol ship's redouts. Impact on Cutter 3. Joryn yelled. They lost main drives. Massive energy bleed. On the main display, Cutter 3's drive cones blew out in a flash of light, then went dark. The ship spun, its tail a twisted mess. Secondary thrusters fired wildly, trying to steady the tumble. "No hull breach," Joryn added quickly. "Just engines gone." Cutter 2 reports. "Weapons failure," another officer shouted. "Their lance arrays are offline. It's like..." Someone reached in and plucked them out. On his private feed, Vale watched the human weapon signatures. Tight, efficient bursts, each aimed at a specific node. "They are not trying to kill us," he said, almost to himself. Bare editing, Cutter 4 took a hit that sliced clean through its comms tower. The ship jerked sideways, then drifted silent. Only Cutter 1 kept both engines and guns, and even that lasted for just 2 heartbeats. A thin line from DUSK-SPEAR reached out, kissed its forward weapon mount, and the whole gun assembly tore free, spinning off into space like a broken tooth. In less than 10 seconds, the patrol wedge became 4 drifting hulks. No reactor breaches, no blossoming fireballs of death. Just dead-in-space warships floating like toys pushed aside, the watch floor filled with overlapping shouts. Is this a sim? Check for system spoofing. They're helpless. Look at those power graphs. Joryn's hands shook. Cutter 1, status, he demanded into his console. Static then, a voice raw with shock. Crown Command, this is Cutter 1. We have lost all primary weapons. Main drives are zeroed. We still have life support. Hull is intact. Crew alive. We are at their mercy. The last words sounded like poison in his throat. On DUSK-SPEAR, Maya's eyebrow twitched at that phrase. At their mercy, she repeated softly. Yes, say it again for everyone listening. She sent a short, compressed packet on the same open band. Imperial Patrol, Mercer's voice said. You are disabled, but alive. Remember this? Your Empire's weapons could not touch us. Our weapons touched you exactly as far as we chose. We are leaving you here as proof. Vale felt something give way. Deep in his mind, he had worn the uniform his entire life. He had believed in the Empire, not just in its rule, but in its nature. It was the grown-up in the room, the final hand at the table. Nothing from outside could match it. Now a ship from outside had just treated Imperial cutters like practice targets. He thought of the old hidden files again. Deathworlders. Humans. A cadet near him whispered. What if? Vale cut in quickly, his voice low but firm. Do not say that word, he said. She looked at him, eyes wide. He could see that the same idea had formed in her mind. Human. On the upper level, Maul fought to keep his own face still. It is an advanced pirate design, he said loudly, as if volume could make it true. Stolen tech. Freak alignment. They were lucky. Our patrol was small. With a full fleet engagement, his words cracked as he watched DUSK-SPEAR's symbol begin to turn, slowing, changing vector. They are not pressing the attack. They are leaving. Leaving, Maul snapped. After that, why would they leave? On DUSK-SPEAR, Mercer watched the 4 crippled ships drift. Helm, he said. Turn us 20 degrees starboard. New course away from the capital. Show ever, most a capital and T's. Shaw, Sprendin ship. Bring us back to Superlight once we clear their heavier defenses. Aye, Captain. The ship rolled with smooth grace, its dark prow angled away from the inner system. From the capital's rich glow, Maya watched the sensor feed from Aegis Crown. They are confused, she said. They expect either surrender or conquest. We are doing neither. Good, Mercer said. Confusion is the seed of doubt. Maya tapped a new message. This will be our last communication. In this sector, she said. Short, very clear. She sent it. On the watch floor, it came through every band, cutting across normal traffic. Imperial Command, Mercer's voice said, you have seen that your registry does not define reality. You have seen that your weapons cannot harm every enemy, and that some enemies can choose to spare you. This encounter is over. We will leave. You will remember. There was no signature, no origin tag, just the words, then silence. DUSK-SPEAR's drive output surged as it accelerated, then folded space. In a blink, its external signal vanished from local sensors. Contact lost, Joryn reported, dazed. No wake trace on standard FTL bands. It's just gone. Vale's display showed a clean break. No trail he could follow. No registry tag he could chase in the database. The ghost ship had come, refused to bow, broken 4 ships, and then left as calmly as it had arrived. No worlds occupied. No flag planted. On the patrol cutters, emergency teams scrambled, but the danger was low. They were not leaking air. They were not burning. They were alive and humiliated. In Cutter 1's wardroom, the captain sat with his head in his hands. They let us live, he said hoarsely. To his second, they let us live like a parent, leaving a child in the corner. His second stared at him. Maybe they were afraid of a bigger fleet coming, the officer said, grasping for a kinder story. Maybe they ran while they had the advantage. The captain thought of how precise those hits had been. No, he said. They were not afraid. On Aegis Crown Station, Maul turned away from the displays and opened a secure command channel. His voice was tight, each word clipped. Seal all raw data from this incident, he ordered. Flag it triple black. Access only by direct authorization from myself or the Emperor. And self. The official report will read: Patrol engaged hostile pirate vessel with stolen high-energy shielding. 4 ships damaged, no casualties. Enemy jumped to unknown coordinates. Vale stared at him. Pirates? He asked in a low tone. With that mass, that control, Admiral, that is not credible. It does not have to be credible, Maul snapped back. It has to be the story we tell. The registry did not fail. The registry was tricked by data spoofing. The Empire was not helpless. The Empire was surprised by rare tech and will soon adjust. That is what everyone will say. That is what everyone will believe. Joryn heard him and felt a strange twist in his chest. What he had seen and what he was being told to say did not match. Sir, he started carefully. The recordings are being edited. Maul cut in. You will keep your observations to yourself, Lieutenant. You will write your log according to the official summary. If I hear you use the word unregistered about this incident again, your career is over. If I hear you suggest that ship was anything but a pirate vessel. Your life may be over. Is that clear? The threat sat cold in the room. Yes, Admiral, Joryn said faintly. Vale held Maul's gaze, and the rumors. Vale asked. We can control logs, not tongues. Maul's eyes hardened. We will crush the rumors, he said. We will call them treason. We will remind every officer that the Empire wiped out its greatest enemy long ago. No ship from that species exists. No humans remain. Say otherwise, and you stand against the extinction edict itself. He said the last part loudly enough for the whole floor to hear. The word hung in the air. Humans. Some officers flinched as if he had drawn a weapon. Vale felt a small spark of anger. Admiral, he said quietly, if that was a pirate, then it is the most disciplined and advanced pirate ever seen. If it was not a pirate, then our understanding of who our enemies are is wrong. Should we not at least consider? Maul cut him off with a sharp gesture. We will not revive old ghosts to comfort frightened men. He said, humanity is extinct. That is not a theory. It is law. You will remember your oath. Vale closed his mouth. He had not said the word out loud. He had not dared, but in his mind, the shape of the ship and the calm of the voice matched the fragments he had read. A dangerous species, a love of war blended with strange restraint, a talent for fighting, not just with weapons, but with minds, deathworlders, humans. Later that rotation, when the watch changed and the lights shifted from blue toward gold, officers filed out in stiff silence. Joryn walked the corridor beside Vale. Sir Joryn said in a low voice, was that really a pirate? Vale's jaw tightened. He asked without looking at him. I think Joryn hesitated. Inside him, two images fought, the neat words of the official report and the gray mass on his screen drinking lances like rain. I think the report will say it was a pirate. Vale almost smiled. A careful answer, he said. Keep being careful. He paused at a junction. Lieutenant, he added, softer, do not share your doubts with the wrong ears, but do not throw them away either. Doubt is painful, but it is also a sign you are still thinking. Joryn nodded, his throat tight. On the other side of the galaxy, in a hardened command room under Colorado Springs, Admiral Rebecca Shaw watched the battle replay from DUSK-SPEAR's logs. The footage showed bright lances fading on dark hull, precise beams cutting drives and guns, and then the turn away. Maya stood beside her, arms folded. They did well, Shaw said. No overkill, no lost tempers. They followed the doctrine. A young analyst at the back frowned. Admiral, some would ask why we did not push through and destroy the capital's defenses at once, he said. We had proven advantage. Shaw turned to him. Because our goal is not to win a battle, she said. Our goal is to break a story. If we had charged the capital and burned stations, the Empire would have rallied. They would have turned us into a clean enemy, a thing to hate and fight. Instead, we showed their officers that they can lose without dying, that their emperor cannot protect them from everything, and that something out there can choose to spare them. Maya nodded. We want them to go home alive and talk in quiet corners. She said, we want the lie about human extinction to feel thin when they touch it. War will come later, yes. But first, they must stop believing the Empire is the only thing that gets to say what is real. On Aegis Crown Station, alone in his small bunk, Joryn lay awake and stared at the dim ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that dark spear-shaped ship sliding through white fire without flinching. The registry was supposed to see everything, but it had not seen that ship until it was already inside Imperial space. But it had not scratched that hull. The Extinction Edict was supposed to be the end of the human story. But a voice that sounded very human had just told them, "We spare you." He knew what the reports would say tomorrow. He knew what the training holos would show. But he also knew what he had seen. For the first time in his life, the Empire did not feel like a wall that would stand forever. It felt like a great tower with a crack near the base. Small, maybe, but real. Out in deep space, far from any station, DUSK-SPEAR slid back into the quiet between stars. Its hull was dark. Its crew moved in low voices. Maya saved the latest Imperial reaction charts and closed her console. "First fracture made," she said. Mercer looked at the star map ahead, where new paths glowed, routes to other border systems, other patrols, other minds ready to be shaken. "First fracture," he agreed, "not the last." The ghost ship that was not in the registry moved on, hunting not worlds to conquer, but certainties to break. The official report from Boundary 6 was only 3 pages long. It called DUSK-SPEAR a hostile heavy vessel of unknown pirate origin. It said the patrol had engaged bravely, that the enemy had used experimental shielding, and that further research would ensure such tricks failed in the future. It did not mention the word unregistered. It did not mention the word human. It did not mention that the enemy had chosen to leave. On the capital world far below, Aegis Crown Station, the Emperor read that report in a high, quiet chamber ringed with data pillars. Admiral Catherine Maul stood before him, hands clasped behind his back. No civilian traffic was present. All direct feeds were locked before the enemy transmission. Our own crews will receive a clear explanation. Anyone who spreads other versions will face charges of treason. The Emperor's face was thin and lined. He had ruled for a long time. He knew that guns were loud, but stories were louder. "Do they believe the explanation?" he asked. Maul hesitated. "They will," he said. "We will make sure." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "We cannot allow the idea that the registry failed," he said. "If the registry did not see it, then everything we say about reality begins to look like a lie. If officers hear that an unregistered ship slipped past our defenses, faith in the registry drops. If faith in the registry drops, faith in me drops." He let that trail off. They both knew what followed. Maul bowed his head. "I have sealed all raw data," he said. "Only a handful of us know what we truly saw. I recommend we take further steps." "What steps?" the Emperor asked. We make the rumors themselves a crime, Maul said. We strengthen the extinction edict. We add a simple line. To claim that humans live is to deny imperial law. Make the word itself poisonous. If anyone breathes it, they mark themselves as an enemy. Breathes it, they mark themselves as an enemy. The Emperor thought for a long moment. So be it, he said at last. Draft the change, spread it through the legal nets, and make sure every officer on Aegis Crown signs a statement that they saw a pirate and nothing more. Maul hid his relief. The Emperor had chosen control over curiosity. That was what Maul wanted. He turned to go, then paused. There is another problem, Majesty, he said. Even if we control words, we cannot erase memories. Some of those officers saw a ship drink our lances and disable our patrol with surgical shots. They will think about that, no matter what the report says. The Emperor's mouth thinned. Then bury them in work, he said. Promote some. Transfer some to far posts. Make some disappear if you must. But do not let them gather. Doubt spreads best in groups. Maul bowed again. He left the chamber with a knot in his chest. He had what he wanted. A cover story. But the sight of DUSK-SPEAR turning away stayed with him. The calm voice saying, "We spare you," scraped at something deep inside. He pushed the feeling down. Control first. Questions later. On Aegis Crown Station, a new notice flashed across every officer's console the next day. Extinction, EDX clarification. By decree of the Emperor, any claim that humans or deathworlders survive in the present age is hereby classified as treason. Spreading such claims, repeating rumors, or failing to report such speech will result in immediate arrest. Lieutenant Joryn Pell read the notice twice. Around him, others did the same. Some nodded, as if it made sense. Old, dead enemies should stay dead. Some frowned. A few swallowed hard. Joryn thought of the dark ship on his screen, the calm voice, the measured strikes. He thought of the word Maul had shouted on the watch floor. Human, now. The law said that same word was forbidden. Captain Vale stepped up beside Joryn's station. Log review, Lieutenant, he said, using a harmless phrase. Walk with me. They moved into a side corridor away from the main hum of the watch floor. A maintenance bot rolled past, lights blinking. Vale kept his voice low. "You saw the notice?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Joryn said. "And what do you think?" Vale asked. Joryn hesitated. This felt like a test with no safe answer. "I think it is clear," he said at last. "The law wants us to say that humans are extinct, that anyone who says otherwise is a traitor." Vale gave a small, humorless smile. "That is what the law says," he agreed. "But I asked what you think." Joryn took a breath. "I think," he said slowly, "that the more someone shouts that a thing is impossible, the more likely it is they are afraid it might be possible." Vale's eyes warmed for a brief second. "Careful, Lieutenant," he said. "That kind of thinking can get you thrown out an airlock." "Yes, sir," Joryn said quickly. Vale looked down the corridor, then back. "Do you remember exactly how that ship fought?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Joryn said at once. "It let us hit it, then took our patrol apart without killing anyone." "Without killing anyone," Vale repeated. "Not because it could not, but because it chose not to. That choice is what frightens me more than their armor." Joryn frowned. "Why, sir?" he asked. "Because it means they were not here to conquer," Vale said quietly. "They were here to show us something and then leave. If they had burned the patrol and then tried to storm the capital, we could tell ourselves a simple story. Cruel invaders, brave defenders, brave defenders. Instead, we have to live with another story. Someone stronger than us who is not using that strength to rule us. That makes our empire look smaller." Joryn thought about that. It made his head hurt a little, the way hard training problems did. "Sir," he said at last, "do you think they were human?" Vale caught his breath. In the silence that followed, the word seemed to hang in the air like a forbidden signal. Vale glanced up at the nearest sensor orb, then back at Joryn. "I think," he said carefully, "that we are not allowed to think about that." Joryn nodded. He understood the game. But neither of them forgot the shape of that ghost ship. Rumors moved faster than orders. A refueling tech from one of the damaged cutters talked to a cousin on a cargo station. A sensor officer sent a private message to an old classmate in another sector. A data clerk copied the raw battle log to a hidden drive before it was locked. The words changed as they traveled. Pirate with strange shields became black ship that ate lances. Unknown captain became calm voice that told them they lived only because he let them. The word human did not appear. The law had done its work. People were afraid to say it, but other phrases took its place. Deathworlders. Extinct that maybe isn't. Old enemy back. In mess halls and docking bays. Some laughed the stories off. If something like that really existed, the Empire would tell us, a navigator said, forcing a grin. "We have the registry. We have the lattice. Nothing big moves without a record." Others fell quiet and did not argue. They had seen enough of imperial lies about lesser things to guess how far they might go to protect a big one. On backwater moons far from the capital, rebels and smugglers listened with different ears. "If the Empire can be hurt," a rebel leader said in a hidden bunker, "then all their talk of forever is just that, talk. Maybe we've been fighting the wrong way. Maybe we don't need to beat their fleets. Maybe we just need to show their people the cracks." He did not know he was echoing words spoken in a bunker on a very different world. That world was Earth. On a cool morning in Norfolk, Admiral Rebecca Shaw stood on a balcony that looked out over a wide harbor. Old warships from centuries before sat in dry dock as museum pieces. New ones, built in secret yards, lay hidden under stealth nets and false covers. A small hollow display hovered near her elbow, showing the latest intel from Imperial space. Icons marked new security laws, new patrol patterns, subtle shifts in military posture. Dr. Maya Caldwell joined her, holding a mug of coffee. They tightened the extinction edict, Maya said, just as you guessed they would. Saying the word human in the wrong place will get you dragged away. Shaw nodded. Good, she said. Maya raised an eyebrow. Good, she asked. They are making our very name illegal. Yes, Shaw said. That means they are afraid of the name. Fear is a sign our message landed. Officers who did not think about humans yesterday will now think about them every time they see that law. Maya sipped her drink. Their admiral on Aegis Crown is trying to smother it, she said. Catherine Mall, strong on control, weak on curiosity, he has begun transferring the officers who saw the battle, splitting them up, standard damage control. It will not work, Shaw said. Those officers will carry what they saw into new places. They will tell it to new ears. The story will spread slower this way, but it will spread. DUSK-SPEAR did its job, she added. Maya nodded. He kept to the doctrine, she said. Minimal shots. No dead patrol crews. Clear messages. Leaving before their fear could turn into clean hate. Any sign of an organized imperial response. Shaw asked. Nothing beyond local posturing. Maya said. Extra drills, tough talk. But no united plan. They are too busy arguing over what to call what happened. Some say pirate. Some say ghost. Some think it was a sim. The registry has no entry. Their systems cannot agree with their highs. A small smile touched Shaw's lips. That is the fracture, she said. Registry says no, memory says yes. That gap is where doubt lives. Maya looked out at the water. Do you ever wish we had taken the simpler path? She asked softly. Built a fleet, charged in, tried to smash their core in one go. Shaw shook her head. No, she said. We read too much of their history for that. Empires built on fear do their best work when they have a clear enemy. A giant human armada would give them that. They would forget their own cruelty and unite around the idea of an invading horde. What breaks them more is the idea that we are not an invading horde, she said, that we are a patient, thinking force that can choose when and where to apply pressure, that we are not scared of them, that we do not even need their capital yet, that we can walk away. Maya nodded slowly. Single ship fracture doctrine, she said. Give them a small controlled wound they cannot ignore or fully explain. Let their own mind do the rest. Shaw turned back to the harbor. DUSK-SPEAR was the first, she said, not to attack the same way, but to teach the same lesson in different places. A patrol base here, a depot there. Always the same pattern. You cannot hurt us. We can hurt you. We are not here to conquer. We are here to show you that your emperor can bleed. Will they understand the nuance? Maya asked. Or will they just see us as another threat? Some will hate us no matter what we do, Shaw said. But some will see the difference. That is who we are aiming at. Kids like that lieutenant on the watch floor. Traders, technicians, people whose lives depend on the registry being right. When they see it fail, they will start to question other truths too. She looked up, and when enough people in the Empire stop believing the story that nothing can challenge us, then our real fleet can move, not as saviors, but as an alternative. Maya gave a small laugh. Humans, she said. Always trying to fight first in the mind. Shaw smiled. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day, she said. We learned that the first battle is inside the skull. If you think you cannot win, you already lost. We are just returning that lesson to the galaxy. Back on Aegis Crown, months passed. The damaged patrol cutters were towed in, repaired, and sent back out. Their crews received quiet warnings about talking too much. Some were promoted faster than they expected. Some were shuffled to strange posts. A few vanished into special assignments. Yet in the small hours of long shifts, in low-traffic zones, people still talked. Did you hear about Boundary 6? A comtech asked a new arrival. I heard it was a sim. Gone wrong, the new arrival said. I heard the sim explanation, the tech replied, and I saw the power logs. Sims don't burn real energy like that. In a storehouse, a team lead told a cautionary tale to fresh workers. If you joke about ghost ships, he said, someone in a black coat will come, ask you why. So don't. But also, check your alerts, double-check your codes. Not everything out there is in the registry. He pretended that last line was just about safety. The younger workers heard more in it. Captain Vale spent his days following orders. Drills, audits, patrol planning. Outwardly, he was the model officer. Inwardly, he kept turning over the shape of DUSK-SPEAR and the tone of Mercer's voice. He began to notice other cracks, old records with gaps where there should be detail. Training lectures that skipped whole wars with a wave of the hand. Legal terms built around holes, like extinction edict, that never explained exactly how the final blow had been struck. He did something dangerous. He started saving small bits of truth. He tucked away a copy of the unedited sensor feed from Boundary 6. He archived a few old reports about humans that had slipped through sensor screens. He recorded his own quiet thoughts in a private log with no net link. He did not know yet what he would do with these pieces. He only knew that if the Empire's story about humans was a lie, then other parts of the story might be lies too. Lieutenant Joryn Pell changed in smaller ways. He still did his job. He still checked his sectors with care. But where he once trusted the registry without question, he now watched for things it missed. A faint blip that came and went with no code. A cargo pod that arrived a fraction off its declared mass. A sensor relay that reported a brief gap, then claimed all was normal. Before DUSK-SPEAR, he might have shrugged those off as random noise. After DUSK-SPEAR, he logged them and kept copies for himself. Sometimes, late in his shift, he looked up at the center of the Capitol display, where the Emperor's world glowed bright. He imagined a dark, spear-shaped ship hanging just beyond sensor range, watching. The thought made him shiver. but not just with fear, also with a strange, dangerous hope. If the Empire could be surprised, then maybe it could also be changed. Far away, DUSK-SPEAR was no longer alone. In deep space near a quiet star, 3 dark ships met. They did not match Imperial style. Their shapes were rough, practical, each built for a task. One carried long cargo spines for supplies. One had extra bays for fighters. On its bridge, Mercer greeted a holo of Admiral Shaw. "We have confirmed secondary fractures," he said. "Small, but real. Increased chatter about ghosts, new laws trying to plug new holes. A few lost freighters that turned out to be found again once we let them go. Traders are starting to doubt customs when told, 'Your loss was an accident.'" Maya smiled at that. "We have sent similar messages in 3 other sectors now," she said. "Short strikes on carefully chosen targets. Always the same pattern. We appear without a registry entry. We show Imperial weapons cannot stop us. We disable, we speak, we leave. Any sign of coordinated Imperial doctrine to answer us?" Shaw asked. "Not yet," Mercer said. "They are still arguing over what we are. Some call us pirates. Some call us ghosts. Some say we are old tech from a lost war. Their fear of the word human is working in our favor. It keeps them from naming us clearly, and what you cannot name or chew, well." Shaw nodded, satisfied. "We give them time to stew. Let officers like Vale sit with what they have seen. Let lieutenants like Pell carry quiet doubts into promotions. The longer the gap between their official story and lived reality, the deeper the crack." Maya looked at the map of Imperial space. "They still think their empire is the only center that matters," she said. "They do not know that on this old blue planet, the extinct enemy has rebuilt, remembered, and chosen a slow war." Mercer glanced at her. "Do you ever feel strange about that?" He asked about fighting, not just for victory, but for the idea that no empire gets to own reality. Maya shrugged lightly. "We came from a world that did not care about our stories," she said. "Volcanoes, storms, predators, plagues. Earth did not bend to our wishes. We had to learn to bend our minds instead, to see that any story can break. The Empire forgot that. We are here to remind them." She paused, and when they are reminded, she added, "Maybe the galaxy after this war will be different. Maybe no one will trust a power that says, if it is not in our book, it is not real." Shaw's holo flickered slightly as a transmission manned. "Do not hope for too much kindness from the future," Shaw said. "Humans know how messy change is. But we can at least pull down the idea that lies written in stone stay true forever." She gave a short nod. "Continue pattern operations," she said. "Choose your next targets with care. Always military. Always symbolic. Never mass civilian harm. We are not here to become the thing they already fear. We are here to make them fear their own false certainty." The holo faded. Maya turned back to her console. "Next Imperial sector for a visit?" Mercer asked. She brought up a list. Ports, depots, patrol zones. Each had small notes. High faith in registry. Strong belief in extinction edict. Recent rebel crackdown. We go where belief is heavy, she said. That is where a crack hurts most. Mercer smiled faintly. Plot a course, he said. DUSK-SPEAR's engines woke with a low hum. Space bent around its hull as it slid toward its next quiet strike. On the capital world, years later, schoolbooks would still say, the extinction edict ended the human threat long ago. The Empire stands forever. The registry sees all. Nothing outside the registry matters. In hidden corners of the same world, people would trade different stories. A patrol captain's grandchild would talk about the day their ancestor's ship was taken apart without a single casualty. A retired sensor officer would show a faded secret hollow of a dark spear-shaped hull drinking plasma fire. In those stories, the line would always come up. They could have killed us. They didn't. The idea that someone stronger than the Empire had chosen not to crush it would not fit neatly into official history, but it would live in minds. A single unregistered ship had appeared, broken 4 cutters, spoken a few calm sentences, and left. It had not toppled the Empire by itself. It had done something stranger. It had shown people inside the Empire that their ruler's favorite sentence, "If it is not in the registry, it is not real," was just words. It had proven that the extinction edict, the proud claim we wiped out our greatest enemy, was flawed. From that day on, every time someone repeated those lines, a small doubt would stir in the back of someone's mind. And that, more than beams or bombs, was what started to fracture an empire that thought it could register reality. DUSK-SPEAR moved through the dark between stars, nameless in Imperial records, present in Imperial dreams. Humanity, the species written off as dead, had not come back as a raging tide. It had come back as a surgeon with a single blade, cutting at belief, slice by patient slice.